Alright guys, so what I'm starting off with today is primer, and this looks like it's been through the ringer because it has. I'm almost out, but my favorite primer of 2017 was the Benefit Porefessional primer. It really does just fill in your pores really beautifully, and yeah, I just have been loving it. So I definitely wanted to mention this today. It is my favorite primer for sure this year. And mainly you want to focus this on the areas where your pores are the largest and kind of press it into the skin. And then I like to smooth around on the rest of the face. And I don't know if it's true, but for some reason I feel like this makes my skin just look better once I take my makeup off. I don't know, like when I have like really bad redness or like pimples, I feel like they always look better after I take my makeup off whenever I wear this. So I don't know, kind of strange, but I love this primer. Highly recommend it. It's a little pricey, but it's so good. So I'm not going to talk about concealer yet, but I'm just going to prime my eyelids so we can go on to eyeshadow. Okay, so you guys probably already know what my favorite eyeshadow palette's going to be. Modern Renaissance. I have been using this so much. I mean, clearly I have been using this a ton, and I just love it. It's such a good eyeshadow palette. My sister bought this for me last Christmas, and I use it all year long. I mean, I just love it. So that's what we're going to be using today. And the brushes I have been loving for eyeshadow, actually it's a pouch like this. This is from Morphe, and it's got like 12 or maybe 15 eyeshadow brushes, and they are really, really good brushes. So I've been using those a lot lately. It is a newer purchase, but I love it. And the brushes don't have names, which kind of sucks, but I mean, it's flawless. It's so good. And I also really love the Morphe M441. I've had this brush for all of 2017 pretty much, and I used it in like every tutorial, so I had to give a shout out to this. But that brush set, if you buy that, you really don't need the Morphe M441 because there's a couple brushes in there that are just like it. Alright, so the first color I'm going to be taking is Burnt Orange, and I'm going to be doing a look that is like one of my favorite looks to do in 2017, so I figured why not do something like that. And I'm just going to pop that in the crease. Alright, and then I'm going to take Real Gar, and I'm just going to place that a little bit lower in the crease. Alright, and then I'm going to be taking Red Ochre and just putting that all on the lid and blending it up into Real Gar. And then I'm going to take a blending brush and go back in with Burnt Orange, and then I'm just going to blend up at the top. Alright, and then I'm going to build up the Red Ochre again. I'm just going to build it up a little bit more on the lid, make it really dark and smoky. Then I'm just going to take a clean blending brush, no product on it this time, and just blend out the edges. And then to highlight the inner corners and the brow bone, I'm going to take the shade Primavera. Alright, so if you guys are new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but I rarely do winged liner. I'm really, really bad at winged liner. If I had to choose a liner that is the easiest for me to work with, I'd say this e.l.f. liner. It is really, really good, super cheap, so I'd have to say this is my favorite liner of 2017, but like I said, I really don't do wings, so I'm not going to do one today. So before I put on my lashes, I'm going to move on to brows, and this is the Anastasia Brow Wiz. I did use the brow definer a lot this year, but I mean, they're pretty similar. I love them both. Those two are going to be my favorites. But I think I prefer the Wiz just because it's smaller and I can be like more precise. Okay, so what I like to use to set my eyebrows is the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Plumper. I don't know what color this is because everything is worn off because I've used it so much. But it's really, really, really good. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to lashes. And I will say I use the Ardell Demi Wispies like all the time, but I don't think they're my favorites. I use them a lot because they're easily accessible and they don't cost a lot of money. But I think my favorites were either the House of Lashes Iconic Lights or the Boudior Lights. Those were really, really good. I'm going to use one of the two today. I'm not sure which one it is because they've just been sitting in my bathroom drawer kind of alone with no packaging. And the lash glue that I'm going to be using is the House of Lashes, the dark adhesive. I will say this does not come off your lash line for a couple days, but it is really good, super tacky. It'll keep your lashes on for sure. I don't know why, but I'm on the struggle bus with lashes today, so I actually ended up applying the Ardell Demi Wispies, I believe, just because those other ones, I used them so much that they just weren't applying correctly. So if they look a little messy, I'm sorry. I don't know. I was having a hard time. Next, I'm going to take the L'Oreal Voluminous Mascara. This is the Carbon Black, and that's what I'm going to use to just blend my lashes with the falsies. Alright, so now I'm going to be moving on to the face. So what I'm going to be using for foundation is probably something that you could already guess if you've been watching my channel this year. Loreal Pro Glow. I love this stuff. I have one of them in like all my colors. I'm going to test 204 and 205 today to see which one matches me better, but hopefully one of them does. I haven't worn this in like a hot minute just because I've been trying out different things. That's 205. That looks pretty good. It might be a little dark. Let's see what 204 looks like. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with 204. And what I'm gonna be using to apply it is the Real Techniques Diamond Sponge. I know I haven't used this in a little bit, but it's been one of my staples for the year. I love this sponge. I need to get a new one. It's like been put through some use. So here's what the foundation looks like applied. It's just so pretty and like naturally glowy, but it has really good coverage, and for being from the drugstore, this is like my favorite foundation. I love it so much. I haven't found even a high-end one, which I haven't tried a ton of those this year, I will say, but I've tried some and this always beats them. I love this so much. The only thing is it does leave little specks of white where the sunscreen is, but all you have to do is blend it out really well and those will go away, so I don't find it to be much of an issue, but it is a little strange. Alright, so what I'm going to say for concealer is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. This one might be a little light on me. I haven't used it in a hot minute, so we're going to see how it goes, but this is so good, and it's from the drugstore. It's not too pricey, and it's just like, it's high-end feeling, you know? I told my cousin about this concealer because she's into makeup probably more than I am, if not about the same, and she was like, oh my gosh, that is so good. It feels high-end. And I'm like, I told you, it's really good. It was a little too light on me. I might have to find a way to darken that up a little bit. So I just added a little bit of the Maybelline Fit Me in the shade 20 Sand, just because this was way too light, and I do really, really like this concealer as well. Alright, so the under eye is still a bit bright, but we're just going to roll with it. My bad. So for setting, I'm going to be using the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. This is just the translucent version, and I've been using this all year and probably all last year. I mean, clearly, I ran out of like 3 of these. The brush I'm going to be using with that is the Real Techniques Contour Brush. I really like this for just setting underneath my eyes. It works really well for that. This brush also works pretty good for contour, but I have a different one that I prefer, so yeah. Alright, and then to set the rest of my face, I'm still going to use that same powder, but I'm going to be using the Morphe E2 brush. It's just a huge, fluffy brush, and I like to just pounce on the powder instead of swiping it because I don't want to take away any foundation. I do swipe it down my neck, but I do want to include another powder that I've been liking so far. I can't tell you yet if it's one of my favorites or not, but the RCMA No Color Powder is really, really good. Okay, so next I'm going to be moving on to bronzer. I am going to mention 2 bronzers because there's one that I prefer when I'm more pale like I am today, and then one that I've been using a lot when I was more tan. So, the one I'm going to be using today is the Benefit Hoola Bronzer. I'm sure we all know what this is. This is a really, really good bronzer. It's just a nice, like, it's not cool tone, but it's not super warm tone either. It's just a really good, like, neutral bronzer. You can use it to contour. It's really good. And then I also have been really liking the Neutrogena bronzer. This is the Sunkissed one, and clearly I've used this a lot as well. It's just a little bit orange on my skin right now because I'm so fair, but in the summer, this is beautiful. And then this brush that I'm using is the Real Techniques blush brush. I use this brush for blush and contour every time I do my makeup. I mean, not contour, blush and bronzer every time I do my makeup, and it just works so well. All I do is kind of like do this against my arm to get the blush off or the bronzer off. So yeah, it's not hard to just like dust it off like this and go about your bronzer. Okay, and then for nose contour, I don't do this all the time, but I really like using the Hoola bronzer for this as well. And this brush from EcoTools, I'll show you up close. What I really love to do is sometimes if I want to map it out really well, I'll use the brow side, the brow brush type side, and I'll just like draw in like where I want the lines to be, and then I blend it out with the more fluffy side. And this EcoTools brush just came in like a 4-piece brush set. It came with this dual-ended brush and then one more dual-ended brush. Super cheap, really good brushes. I really like them. But yeah, that's all I do for my nose contour. You just kind of blend it out with the fluffier side. And there you go. Nothing too crazy, but it does help. Moving on to contour. So I do actually have 2 products that I want to mention today. One is more high-end and one is more affordable. And the one that's more affordable is the e.l.f. Contour Kit. This is what it looks like. So I will say this contour kit is not universal. It will only work for people like my skin tone, medium skin tone. Nobody's super fair. Maybe some people on the darker side, but not super dark. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty good. I always use this color right here. I never really use the other 3 pans, but it is such a good contour shade. I love it so much, and it's super pigmented, blends out beautifully, and it's super cheap. So I use this a lot. The other product I wanted to mention is the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. We all know this. It just broke. Okay, well, luckily I don't use this color very often, but it literally just shattered in my lap, so that's fun. But anyways, so this is the Shade and Light palette. These pans do come out and they are replaceable, which is really cool because if I only use like these 2 colors, then why would I replace the whole thing, you know? So what I like to use is this yellow color and then this color the most often, But every once in a while, if I want a cooler tone contour, I do use this one, and it is really pretty. But yeah, I don't really use the darkest shade, but the thing about this palette is it is very universal. A ton of people can use this palette and it will work. And I do like the fact that you can just replace the pans that you use the most often. Alright, so I think today I'm just going to use the e.l.f. contour just to show you what it looks like, because we all know what the Kat Von D one looks like. And what I like to use for contour is the Morphe Y9 brush. This brush is seriously amazing. Like, one of my favorites. I don't know who mentioned this, but I think it was Nicole Concilio was just applying her contour so beautifully, and I'm like, what brush is that? So I went and bought it, and it is phenomenal. Alright, and then something I really do love to do is carve out my contour, just because it makes it look a lot more precise and flawless. So for that, I do like to use loose powder, and I'm going to use the RCMA No Color Powder. So I'm just going to take that same brush I used for under my eyes. I'm going to dip it just barely in the No Color Powder, and then just going to carve that out. Alright, so while that is setting, I am going to use blush and highlight. You guys probably already know what I'm going to use for this because it is just a staple, let's be honest. Jaclyn Hill palette from Becca. I never use this blush, which is Pamplemousse. I never touch it. Now these two, my favorite is probably Rosé Spritz, but I also really love Amaretto. But today for blush, I think I'm just going to use that middle shade Amaretto just because it's very, I don't know, it's almost like bronzer. You don't really see it that much, but it looks super pretty. And then for highlight, clearly we know which one gets used the most out of this palette. I do sometimes use Prosecco Pop, but Champagne Pop is so much better. Literally, it's amazing. So I use the Real Techniques setting brush for this, and I love this brush for highlight. Super cheap, works phenomenally. You guys see how pretty that is? Like, I can't stop using this highlight. It is so amazing. It's my favorite. I love it so much. And then I like to just bring it down the nose just a smidge. And then on the Cupid's bow. You're blocking my light. Alright, skedaddle.
I thought you had lights here too.
Well, I do, but you should see what it looks like whenever you stand there. That makes a big difference. Does my makeup look pretty?
Looks like you got a beard.
With this, I'm Santa. Alright, so now I'm just going to wipe off the baking. And you can see it just helps it look a little more defined. Alright, so what I'm going to do now before I start on the lower lash line is set my face with this Morphe setting mist. I have never really been a huge fan of like setting mists because I didn't really see much of a difference. But with this, it has the most amazing mist. It comes out beautifully. It doesn't like put splatters on your face. And it also makes all of the powders just melt into the skin, and it looks way more like skin. I don't know that this actually makes my makeup last longer, but it is really, really good. I love this. It just feels so refreshing whenever you apply it. It's so good. I love it. And then what I like to do is just pounce my sponge over that just to kind of set everything in. And I'll also pounce it really well under my eyes because that's where I get the most cakiness at. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a blending brush, kind of like this. It's got a little bit more of a taper to it, so it's not super big. But I'm going to take that burnt orange shade that we use in the crease, and I'm just going to apply that first under the lower lash line. So now I'm going to take the shade Real Gar, and I'm going to apply that with a bit of a smaller brush. It's still fluffy, so you can blend, but I'm just going to apply that right on top of the first color and do it a little bit closer to the lash line since it's a little darker of a color. So now I'm just going to take a brush like this. It's like a flat shader brush, and I'm going to take red ochre on that, and I'm just going to apply that as close to the lash line as I can. And then I'm just going to take that first brush I used and blend it out a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to take my favorite mascara for the lower lash line, L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black Mascara, and it's got the best wand for lower lashes. So good. Alright guys, so I just went to do my hair and I realized I totally forgot to do lips. What the heck? So lips was the hardest thing for me because I have so many lippies that I try all the time. I get them in like my Sephora Play and stuff like that. I have a couple that I don't really ever use on my channel because I keep them in my purse because they're beautiful nudes and they go with anything, so I'll just keep them in my purse so I can throw them on whenever. And one of those is the Tartist Lip Paint by Tarte in the color Rosé or Rose, I don't know. But it's just a beautiful nude and I love it so much. I'll swatch it real quick. Here it is on the back of my hand. It's just a really, really pretty nude and it's got a great formula. I love it. Another one that I keep in my purse and don't ever really use on my channel is from Bare Minerals, and it is in the color Swag. It's got a really nice formula. It's more of a whipped formula, and it's the second color here. Super, super pretty. Alright, the most used on my channel probably is from Dose of Colors. It is in the shade Stone, and I love the Dose of Colors formula. It's phenomenal. So there it is right there. As you can see, I definitely have a type. For lip gloss, something that I always use is the NYX Mega Shine Lip Gloss in Natural, I guess is what the color is. It's just a really pretty, like, pinky lip gloss. Very nice and opaque for a lip gloss, and this I will just throw on whenever. Even if I'm not wearing makeup, it looks really pretty. So there it is right there. And then the color I'm going to be using today, this is a liquid lip from Smashbox. And I got this as a sample. I don't see what the color is, but Smashbox has one of the most amazing formulas of liquid lipsticks. So I'll show you what this looks like. And I also really love their applicators. Now this one's a little bit darker than the rest, but there it is. It's got more of like an orangey red undertone, so I figured it would go with this look today really well. So here we are, this is the finished look. I really hope you enjoyed watching my favorites of the year. I'm sure I left out a couple things that I really, really loved this year, but I wanted to use my favorite thing out of each section or each category. And I think that's what I did. I went through all my makeup earlier and kind of set it to the side and came up with what I thought was my favorite. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If any of these are your favorite as well, leave me a comment down below. Or if they're not, let me know what was your favorite. I would love to know because I always love trying new things. So yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, sorry if I looked at myself too many times in my viewfinder. I'm still getting used to this camera, so sorry. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video and have a great day. Bye.